Thank you all for coming tonight. I want to talk to you tonight about binding your family history. It is always a good thing to print out your family history and have a hard copy because electronic methods do fail. If you buy a laptop today, there will be no CD reader in it, and if you have put your family history on it to give to family and friends, they will have no method of reading it, and the same with flash drives. They will fail, and some will not even have a computer to read them. But if you have a hard copy, it is a much better idea, and they will pick up a book and have a look through it. They might not do the same for a computer file, so tonight I'm going to give you a few ideas to get you started to print out your genealogy and histories so that in years to come your family will be able to read it and all your good work is not forgotten. Thank you.
But if you don't have a printer, you can go to any printers and they'll laser print it for you. Okay? And they'll actually print it up for you as well. So when you have all your certificates scanned and you have all your photos scanned, you can put them into the Word document. Okay? And you have to decide then how you're going to finish this thing. Well, finish, I say in inverted commas, you'll never be finished. Because there'll always be something that'll come up that you'll have to add in, or take out, or change, or amend. So don't worry about that. Once you get it down in some sort of form, I think it's the best thing ever. Because if somebody comes down to you and they want their little bit of their family tree, you'll be able to pull out their little bit, print it up, and give it to them. The simplest way is giving them a few sheets and a stapler up the top. But that's not nice. So you have to decide then what kind of paper you're going to use and what kind of binding you're going to use. Now, when you're making a Word document, the most important thing, I can't stress it more, is make sure you have enough border on the left-hand side of your document. Because when you bind it, it's going to come in a little bit and it could block off some of the words. So when the person opens the book, he can't read all of the words down the side. So that's the most important thing, right? Then it's nice to have a table of contents. Word will create this table of contents for you. But you have to tell it that it's a title or a chapter and that comes up, I can show you later, but I don't know, do most of you use Word? Yeah. So there's chapters and there's titles, and you can update the table of contents then from the titles and the chapters of the book, right? And it will actually put references as well. Don't forget to put references in. You can put all the references down the back and it will create references for you. So I'm going to assume that you kind of know how to use Word, you know. So create as many trees as you like, but make it easy for somebody to read it afterwards. Because if you have a complicated tree and it's like this wide, they're not going to see the big picture, but they will see a family unit. You know, if you just have like the easiest one I think is for the 4 great-grandparents, the 2 parents, and then the children. So it gives them, you can see the picture of the family, if you know what I mean. Okay? And then you can add in photographs of the people that you're writing about, and you can put in their birth certificates, their marriage certificates, and all that sort of thing, and other scans like newspaper articles and things. Now, don't forget to add the stories of your ancestors, because it's when you're giving it to somebody and all you have is trees in it, they're going, who are these people? So if you have little descriptions of the people, like my granny, my mother's mother used to say that her grandfather had a handlebar moustache. You know, little little things to kind of liven up the story. So it doesn't matter how long or short it is, okay? Just do it, lads. This is your winter project, okay? Now, a word about online programs. My Heritage will produce a lovely book. I think I have one here. This is it. Yeah, this one, right? This is from My Heritage, okay? And you can, within online, you can tell under your trees, you go down under the tree, and you can produce charts and books. So this one is produced by My Heritage, and it can just give a plain thing at the start. But it'll write all the stories, it will put in little pictures, and it'll do, you can have a look at this later, it'll do all the trees for you. But you see how the trees are only kind of like, they don't go off here and off there, but they have them contained, so you can see the picture of the families, you know. And then down the back they have a list of all the people and tell you what page they're on and where they lived. You can put in all where they lived, and these are all references to the back. Like, these are Scottish ones, now belong to me. And it says, you know, you can get timelines and all sorts of things. But this, like, if you're not too good at Word, but you can actually input it into My Heritage Online, you get a lovely book. Okay? Now, I think Ancestry and Family Tree Maker and Legacy do the same. But when you're inputting all this information, it does take time. So you have to be patient with it. Whereas with Word, you can just pick it up any time and just fill in a little bit here and there. And your book, if you use Word, your book isn't that thick. But on My Heritage at the moment, now my book is 300 pages wide. It's like this wide. But this is just one section of it. Okay? Now, again, make sure you have enough room where the binding is going to be, and over here. This is printed double-sided now, but it has enough room here, this part here, so it doesn't get cut off, if you know what I mean, and you can read it. Now, so if you're paper, that's another thing. Paper. Get yourself some nice 90-gram paper, okay? It's a bit thicker than the ordinary copy paper. They use it for CDs. If you're going printing up a few CDs for yourself, you get the ream of paper, but it's 90 gram. It's a bit better than the 80 gram. The 80 gram is like, it's very flimsy. But you can, at some you know, the Art and Hobby and Vibes and Scribes and that as well, you can actually buy lovely fancy paper. You can buy cream paper that has a little bit of a fleck in it. They use it for wedding stationery, is what they use it for. So they have a variety. Eason's used to have it, but they don't do it anymore. But you can get paper that's lovely and it makes it look kind of old, you know, if it's cream. But that's, no. Now, see the cover of that now, it's just plain, it's just transparent, and I just happen to have black. Why I have those is because my sons were in college and they needed to bind up projects all the time, so I bought the machine for doing it, and I bought these. And it saved us so much money because they were able to do it at home, quick and easy. And they weren't waiting for the stationers to bring them up, so their projects got in on time. So, but you could get coloured ones of these, and you can put your own artwork here as well. You know, you could create another page here with your own artwork. Now, Now, bindings. The easiest one, I think, when you're starting out at the beginning, is one of these, right? They're called display books, but they've got poly pockets attached to this ring wire binding here, right? So you can put in your trees. This is what I created in Word now. You can stick in your trees, right? And if you have a mistake, you can just take out that sheet and put in a new sheet. And this is the indented pedigree here. Can you see that? You've heard me talk about this before, but I find it the easiest way to do it. So you have me here, my sons and my daughter, my parents up here, my grandparents, my great-grandparents out here. So each indent is a generation, okay? So you can put in, like, I have a will here, it's 10 pages long, but I transcribed it rather than scan it in because it's very big. It's bigger than this. And if I scanned it in, you couldn't read the writing. So I just transcribed it then and stuck it in. So the same with other documents that I had. And then you can put in your little references for Guy's Almanac and all that. You know, if you're, that's how I started. I was in the library, upstairs in the archival section, looking through all these Guy's directories and all sorts of things, looking for my family. My boyfriend at the time, husband now, still remembers going in with me, searching through these books. I'm sure he hadn't any interest. But anyway, I know more about his family than he does. But you can put in, transcribe newspaper death notices, you know, and what I put in there is gravestone inscriptions and things. So you can have great fun. But I ran out of paper. I've only one sheet left in this, but 2 sheets. But you can get, this is a 50 pocket one, 60 pocket one, but you get smaller ones and bigger ones. And say, like my nephew was doing a project in school now, and he only had about 20 pages, right? And he had to hand it up. So he just cut out the other ones. So it makes it look nice, you know? Now, that's spiral binding there. And this is, well, no, glue binding, right? You can get this machine, anyway, there's a picture, I have a picture of it later on. So, and then you can do your own binding, okay? Now, you can always take the easy way out and take it to the printers and they print it up there. They print it and bind it and do the whole lot. Like Hubbard's bookbinding in just opposite Triskel there. Hubbard's, yeah, they'll do it. Like my son got his thesis bound in there. And so they're 25 quid. You know, and you can have any colour and you can have gold on the spine, you know, the title or whatever. Now, you can always employ somebody like my daughter who's a graphic designer to design your book. But that's costly. But that's a way out of the way. Okay? Now, any printer will bind up, and some are specialised, like Hubbard bookbinding. They will put lovely marbled paper in it, and they put gold on the spine, and they, you know, it's really fancy stuff. But it doesn't have to be fancy, you know. So Barbara Hubbard has the binding there. When you go to have a look at this on the website later on, you can click on those things there. I don't know if I click on those now, you won't see them. But if I was on my own computer, I could. Okay. But I think it's a bit of fun to kind of do it yourself. You know, if you're anyway crafty at all, can you cut with a scissors? And can you glue? It's like back in primary school, cutting and gluing. Okay? Now, if you want some ideas on how to do this bookbinding, right, you can look on Pinterest. So there's just two of them there. You'll be able to see it later on. And on YouTube, oh my God, you get so many ideas. Okay? Instagram has lovely ideas. So you can have great fun tomorrow when you're not doing anything because it's slashing rain outside, you can't go out. You'll be looking up these things. Okay? So it's very hard to see there, but you'll be able to click on them when you get the file later on. Now, this is what a book looks like, okay? Do you know when you buy one of those books there, those big books you have, it starts off with these signatures here, because they're called signatures. Usually they're about 5 pages thick, right? And it's a bit like that. You get a couple of pages and you put them all together, so they're all stacked. It's not as many of these pages now, it's about 5 or 6 pages, okay? And you can either staple it, but usually people don't staple it. Usually they put holes along here with an awl, and they stitch all these signatures together. It's called Coptic binding or something. And then they glue the edge then, when all the signatures are together. They glue here, and they put a little canvas. It's like, sometimes it's muslin or something like that, along here, okay, to protect the back end of the, here. But they have an overhang here, see this overhang? That's for putting the end papers on. So there's an end paper at the front and the back, okay? And then there's the cover of the book. So if you look on YouTube how a book is bound, this is what happens, okay? They make this part first, the back, the cover, and they cover it with either, sometimes it's leather, sometimes it's fancy paper, but most of the time it's kind of, it can be just ordinary cardboard or paper, you know. But these end papers are very important, and the spine is very important. There's different ways of doing the spine, right? So I just brought some notebooks here. So you can have a look at these later. So you have your signatures glued in here, and then you have, this is an end paper and this is an end paper, okay? So you might notice sometimes that these are slightly stuck at the back. That's the reason for that. And you see the way there's a hole there? Sometimes there isn't a hole and sometimes there is a hole. And you get this nice, these are cheap notebooks that you buy. But this is a moleskin one then. So you have the end papers again, but this doesn't have much of a hole here, but it has a little end thing there. It's called the headband. You see it in old books and things like that. And sometimes they're made with little embroidery threads, so they're coloured. But these are very handy for bringing around with you, taking notes. These are, you see this one here now? This is a sketchbook I have. I just brought it. You can actually get a machine that puts the metal ones on, but I find the plastic ones are just as good. But it's called Cinch, I think is the machine. You have to buy a machine and it makes these holes by pushing down and making holes. And you put the pages onto the thing and then it squishes this up then, so it's really tight. Now, so the different kinds of binding, it depends on how many pages you have. So these, the first one there is, it's very hard to read that now. But if you have just a small book, say 18 to 80 pages, you can use a saddle stitch. And that looks like something like this. You make the holes there, and you can use string or ribbon, and you go in and out the holes. So it makes a lovely small little book, and this is fancy paper. So in this case, I've given it a border there, but you don't have to have a border. You can make it the same size as this if you want. Right. Now, the next one then is loop stitches. Sometimes they put staples with loops here. You see them sometimes in stationery. So you can, if it's a bit thicker, you can actually make the holes yourself for the staples. Stick the staple in. Some of them have a loop here. That's what that is. And then you can push these down at the back. So it makes a little book. No? That's if you're good at doing duplex printing, which I haven't kind of mastered yet. Okay? So then there's the stab method. They put just heavy duty staples in there, and it keeps the pages together when you use your spring back book. So these are kind of like accountants or old accountants books, but they're called spring back, so they open out, and you can stick these in here, right? And if you need to go, then it leaves up and it looks like a book on your shelf, which is quite nice. Now, some people sew them along the edge. If you have too many pages, you can actually get a sewing machine and sew them. I've done that on occasion when I was making scrapbooks and paper books. Now, the next one is perfect bind, or perfect bounds, right? That's if you have a little bit more pages, and they look like, moving on, get to the home, I think, but this is lighted, okay? So you just get your signatures or your single sheets of paper, you glue them at the back, and you make your little cover for them, you know? So this is just a sketchbook I have for doing Inktober. So, next one. This one is all the pages are glued together down here, and they put another piece of paper over it to keep it together. And they're just the roundy ones again. That one there, and then the wire ones. Okay. Now, they're what I showed you there a while ago, the display books, easiest thing ever. Now, that's the machine for doing it. You stick your pages in here and you pull down this lever and it makes those holes. Holes here. Now, if you want to do something like that next week, I can bring the machine to the workshop and you can see how it works. So we can put some together. I think I did a few today. Yeah. Which is quite nice. Did you add any more pages now? No, like folds. So you can get big ones of these and little ones. So the little ones look like if you have a thin book, you can have a little one. And you get them all different colours as well. So that's just a little story I had. And you can just put in all the little pictures and, you know, little bits. Now, I've still loads left because I had to buy a box of them for the boys at college. Now, another way of binding is a thermal binder. Now, I have one of these at home as well, and it has these sleeves. They've got this at the front, but they have a little joiner here and a page at the back. But in here, it has a strip of glue, you know, hot glue gun. Do you have one of them at home? No? No. You don't do any crafting at home, no? But you put your single pages into your little cover, you put it into the machine and turn it on, and it melts the glue here, so your pages are glued to the cover. Okay? Now, but you can get all sorts of sleeves and, you know, but a couple came with I'm sure I got them little. You know, the things you buy in little that you don't really need. But it turns out you do need them. Now, some tools you might need. I have all these at home, I don't know. I have metal rulers, craft knives, and cutting boards, bulldog clips, all sorts of things, right? But if you've got your pages printed out, you need to hold them together to glue them. So you get a couple of bulldog clips and you catch them at the side, and then you put your PVA glue on the top, you paint it on with a paintbrush, and sometimes you might need 2 layers of it, so you leave it dry in between. And some people do this with it, if they're thick, they go like that, they bend it a little bit, and they paint along. So when they lift up the thing, the glue goes down a little bit in between the pages, you hold them together. So 2 coats of glue, it doesn't have to be fancy glue. Some people use Mod Podge and they do baking powder or anything like that. No? But PVA glue works just as good. It's child glue, it's water-based glue, and it dries quickly and it's non-toxic. So that will be fine, you know. So now, that's what I just told you, the perfect binding there, you glue the edges. Now, if you're using one of these, right, and you have lots and lots of pages, and they just barely fit in, but, you know, still usable. Some people get a drill, I've done it on occasion, and you get your pages, and you hold them together, and you get a drill, and you mark out the holes evenly, make them even almost, don't do it, get a piece of paper and fold it up, and so they make holes, right, along, and they get strong thread, and they sew them together, okay? So, and then they glue it again. So, if somebody's messing with your book, and they accidentally open it up, your pages don't be flowing all over the place, you know. Oh, that's another thing. Make sure you number the pages when you're doing it more. Yeah, because you're in trouble if you don't. Now, see, in the bookbinders now they have these book clamps for gluing, right? So they put it in between, like 2 breadboards to do it with holes, whatever, but I don't have one now. And then they put another piece of paper up and around here to just keep it together, you know? This is the start of your book, right? You get your pieces of cardboard, and you have to leave a little gap there when you're gluing it onto your cloth or whatever or paper you're going to use, because when you fold it up, I'll show you. This is a book that would belong to my grandmother, right? And it's a medical book, and I'm missing the end pages. But you can see it's got signatures. See, look, they're all loads of little signatures there, and they've glued them all. But before they've glued it, they've stitched it together. All the signatures are stitched together and all glued. It's kind of rabbit glue or something like that. But they have this thing here, it's like tape, but they glue it along here, but they leave tails. Some of them are gone now, but these tails are where you glue the end papers. So I'm kind of halfway through this. So I did this part, that's that part there, and it's like, you know, but it's an old book, and my daughter says, shouldn't you get that done professionally? No one have a go of it. But I'm not losing the page here, it's after coming on. But I might not glue it together, I might just leave it like that. You know, it's protected still, you know. But that gives you an idea of how the book is made. The little things are gone, they're lost, the little tabby things at the top. But you have to cut off the edges here and then glue them in. Yeah. So that's a perfect binding now again. If you go back to the back one there, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a border. This book is, I got this as a gift. It's from a company called Badly Made Books. I don't know, have you heard of it? Around town? No? Yeah. So you can actually see how they put it together. There's signatures again. You see these little signatures? But they've stapled the signatures here together, each one. See there? And then they've glued it along here, and they made the cover, and this looks like an end paper here. So, and they put a little thing in there. But a very nice book. They have, you know, they designed the papers themselves, and I started scribbling them. So it gives you an idea how the book is made. So these end papers protect the book. Say you're kind of, you have an old book at home and the cover's fallen off, and you can make a new cover, you know, if you know what you're doing. But it's very, like, I might not finish this because it's so old, it's over 120 years old. But it's, tells you all about your body. I think it was belonged to my grandmother, because they were slow to go to the doctor and they just looked at it.
Dr. Google.
Yeah, that's Dr. Google for back then. Yeah. So now, so these end pages again, they're glued back. If you ever look at your, say you buy a novel in a book, they're most of them are perfect for, you know, but those ones there are a bit more complicated. You know, they have, you can see the things on the top of them. But these ones don't have, this one doesn't have signatures. It just has perfect binding. They just got the sheet of paper, held them together, and glued the bottom. But see, this blue one now is the end paper. So it helps you to connect the book with the cover, if you know what I mean. But it just, like, your own book doesn't have to be fancy with all these silly stuff, like. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's the spring. I showed you the spring back book. Now, this is the Japanese way of binding books up. I have one of them open. I used to read, see, and do all sorts of design, but you don't have to. Like, I didn't make signatures there. I just got the pages together and I held them together. But I made the covers. You see? And you can mark it down there so it opens. These are just, do you know what this is made out of now? An old stamp album. I just had, my father was into collecting stamps and he had an old album there. And I decided to make a little book out of it. But you can cover this part as well and make it even nicer. These are just smaller books, but more stamp pages that I think. These are scrapbooking papers. They're archival. They're home, like, they don't have any acid in them and stuff. That's another thing. Be careful what you use, because you don't want the acid or your paper to be attacking your book on the inside. So, I know you can get 100 your paper, but you know, if you're just giving it to your relatives, if they want to go food, they're just sticking on their shelves, they won't only look at it once or twice, you know. But I think this is nice and simple, and you can, you know. So, I hope you have an idea of what's going on. If you're looking for more ideas and more explanations and things, this is Coptic binding here. These don't have any end pieces here, but they have signatures. But they open flat. Some of the old books, like, I don't know how the book Kells now is bound, but it could be Coptic binding, and then they put the cover on the front. And, you know. But if Barbara Hubbard, during Heritage Week, she had a day course of how to make a book, and I'll try to get too late, maybe next year. But I hope it gives you an idea of what you can do with your family history, you know, and have a look up what all of these things are. Oops, battery. We ran out of battery. Don't give me that. Right. So, that's all I have to say. We're just done.